Hello, in this Learn to Love Sudoku video, I will be teaching the Y-Wing, which is sometimes known as the XY-Wing. And in addition to that, I'll also be teaching the XYZ-Wing, which is very similar, so I figured I'd group them together. So we're going to be going over some isolated examples of what those are and how those work. And also below in the description is a pack of puzzles which are delineated between the Y-Wing and the XYZ-Wing. And those puzzles will require to use at least one of those, plus some of them may require techniques from earlier videos like the X-Wing or fish video, for example. And they are probably the first in this series that are quite difficult. So please don't worry if you get a bit stuck on them, or if you need to find help somewhere, or if you have to stare at them for a while, because the Y-Wing and the XYZ-Wing are not easy to spot. I'm going to do my best to teach you how to spot those. And of course, after the isolated examples, I will be going through a solve myself. So hopefully that will also help serve as an example of how you might find these when you want to look for them, etc. So what is the Y-Wing? Well, I'm going to start with a very isolated example here. I'm just going to fill in some pencil marks and not worry about how we got there. So let's say I have a 1, 2 here, a 2, 3 here, and a 1, 3 here. Well, we can, in addition to the Y-Wing, it's sometimes called the bent triple. And as you can see here, if you take these three cells, they sort of make a 1, 2, 3 triple, except they don't make a triple, like we learned in the tuples video, because even though this cell sees both of them, this cell does not see this cell. So they can't affect each other. So it's absolutely possible for example, both of these to be a 3. And that doesn't break anything in the puzzle. And so they don't form a true triple, but they do still give us a little bit of information. If we focus on this cell here, which we'll call the pivot, and then these two cells we can call the wings, then if we look at the pivot, what happens if the pivot is a 1? Because it's going to be one of two values, a 1 or a 2. So what happens if in the final puzzle it's a 1? Well, we know for sure that in the final puzzle then that this will be a 3, because it can no longer be a 1. So remember that. This wing ended up a 3. The only other alternative is if in the final puzzle this pivot is a 2. And in that case, well, this cell's not affected, but this cell does become a 3. So what we can learn from that is either in the final puzzle, this wing will be a 3, or this wing will be a 3, or they will both be 3s. But there is no possibility for neither of them to be a 3, and that's because of this pivot cell. So you can sort of see why it's called a pivot. Sometimes these are called pincers instead of wings. I'm calling them wings because it's the Y-Wing technique, but you'll hear pivot and pincer or anchor and wings, or it doesn't really matter what you call them. So you can kind of think of the pincer as one of these things where you grab things. So you have the 1, 2 is the base pivot of the pincer. So we have the pivot here, and then we have the two pincers at the end, which are the two parts that grab. So you've got the pivot and then the two pincers, and in this case on the Sudoku itself, the pivot is this 1, 2, and then the pincers are here, because the pivot is saying, well, either we're going to close here making this a 3, or we're going to close here making this a 3, but in either way we're going to end up closing, and we're going to have a 3 in one of these. And so what that means is that we can take any cell that sees both of these wings or pincers, whatever you want to call them, and such as this cell, and we will know that it's impossible for it to be a 3. So another way to think about that is if I were to put a 3 into this cell, that would force a 1 here and a 2 here. And then what can this cell be? It sees both a 1 and a 2. It has no candidates left. We've broken it. So that is the basic idea behind the Y-Wing. Now I'm going to show a bit of a more concrete example, although it's still in isolation. This is not a solvable Sudoku. And I've already colored. So we can see here that this cell, it sees a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's going to be our pivot. Then we have this pincer, where it sees a 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's only 1 or 3. And then we have this pincer on the top right up here, where we have a 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then this cell is a 3 or a 4 because it sees a 2, a 1, a 2. It can be 3 or 4. It sees 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is a legit thing that could have happened in this puzzle if I were to flesh it out and make a full puzzle out of it. And as you can see, the pincers can be quite long. I think this is probably the longest they can get. And so if this cell is a 1, then this pincer becomes a 3, eliminating a 3 from this cell, making it a 4. The only other option is for our pincer to be 2, in which case, or pivot to be 2, sorry, in which case this pincer is a 3. And that still eliminates 3 from here, making it a 4. So if we see this pattern, we don't know what this is going to be. We don't know which of these is going to be 3, or if both of them are 3. But what we do know is this one is not 3. There is no endgame that causes this cell to be a 3. So we can just put a 4 in there, and then hopefully continue solving from there. So for our next example, I'm going to show the same kind of Y-wing, but we're set up a little bit differently. And so instead, in the previous case, we were using a row and a column. And in this case, we're going to be using a row and a box. So how does this one work? Well, you can see if you want to look at my setup here, you can see that this ends up a 1, 3, this is a 1, 2, and this is a 2, 3 pair. And that's because they directly see all the other values. And normally, without knowing the Y-wing technique, we'd be kind of stuck here. We wouldn't know what to do. But what you can see in this example is that we can make this our pivot, and then these two blues are pincer, as you can probably tell by the way I colored it. So if this is a 1, then this pincer is a 2. So if I fill a 1 here, this is a 2, and that makes the red cell a 3, because it can't be a 2 anymore. The only other option is for the pivot to be a 3, in which case this pincer is a 2, and that still causes this cell to be a 3. And so now we know in either of those cases, this red cell here is a 3. But not just this red cell. Because we've got the box logic here, we actually have more than just the one cell that they both see. If you think about it, what cells affect both of these blue pincer cells? Well, this cell here does. I'm going to mark it red. This cell here, it sees this pincer by box and this pincer by row. And so this one also can't be a 3, so we can eliminate 3 from this one. Did I say 3? I meant 2. And this cell here also, it sees this pincer by box and this pincer by row, so it also can't be a 2. So none of these red cells can be a 2. So you can see how it's a bit more powerful when we combine it with a box, because we, instead of just getting 1 elimination, we can get up to 3. We can get, you can sort of make it so you get even more than 3. Like this 4 here can't be a 2 as well. This 7 can't be a 2. So you can kind of see how you could get up with up to 6 eliminations, I believe. Maybe 5. I think this might be the maximum, but either way, when you're using box and row or box and column, there's significantly more eliminations that can be done using that technique. All right, so that is the second version of the Y-wing. So in this example, it's actually showing the XYZ-Wing. Now the XYZ-Wing is just like the Y-wing, except you have an extra candidate in the pivot cell, in this orange cell here. So this orange cell is 1, 2, 3, instead of, if it were a normal Y-wing, this would be a 2, 3. So you can see how this makes a Y-wing, because if this is 2, this is 1, and that eliminates the 1 from this red cell. And if it's 3, this pincer is 1, and that through the box, it still eliminates 1 from the red cell. So in this case, that would be our normal Y-wing that we just showed in the previous example. However, I can add 1 to this here, and it's an XYZ-Wing, and it works basically the same way, although we get fewer eliminations. So let me just to show, in this situation here, we could actually eliminate the 1 from this red cell as well, because you can see that it sees both of these pincers as well. Once we add a 1 here, what we can say is, well, we either have the normal Y-wing situation, where this red cell can't be a 1. What's the other possibility? Well, the other possibility is for the pivot itself to be a 1. And we don't, obviously that does cause a 3 and a 2 here, but we're not worried about that. Well, what we can see is that still puts a 1 in the box. And so this 8, or this 1, 8 still has to be 8. So whether this is a 1, 2, or 3, this red cell still has to be an 8, and so we can fill an 8 here. So how do we recognize those situations? Like what makes it a Y-wing? Now, got to be careful because, for example, here, if I were to remove the 3 from here, this is just a 1-2 pair. And that still eliminates the 1, but it's not a Y-wing. If I were to eliminate the 2 from here, we have a 1-3 pair here. That actually still eliminates the 1, but it's not a Y-wing. It's a pair. The only time you have a Y-wing is if this 1 were missing. So you have 3 distinct cells where one of them sees the other 2, and there's 3 candidates for the 3 cells, and each cell has a different subset of those candidates. That's a Y-wing. And you can always just double check using the logic of, okay, if this were the pivot and these were the pincers, what happens if this is 2? Okay, that becomes a 1. What happens if this is 3? That becomes a 1. Okay, 1 is the thing that gets eliminated because they both should be, at least one of them's a 1. For the XYZ wing, what you have to look for is, okay, if this is a 1, do I get an elimination in the box? Okay, now if this is a 2, this becomes a 1. If this is a 3, this becomes a 1. So you sort of look at, oh, if only this weren't a 1, I'd have a Y-wing eliminating 1s. But this could also be a 1, so I should look to see if these 3 all see a cell. And the cell that all 3 of these see is just this one red one. And again, if this were a Y-wing, I could also eliminate from this cell up here. Oops, this cell up here. But because it's an XYZ wing, this cell does not see this cell here. So you cannot eliminate 1 from here. You could only eliminate 1 from this cell here, which is seen by all 3 of them. So those are the techniques. Please feel free to watch over the lesson again if you didn't quite get it, or ask questions in the comments, whatever you need to do. I am now going to do a solve. If you'd like to attempt the puzzle yourself first, feel free. It is going to be the first one on the list. I'll especially call it out below. You can click the link and try to solve the puzzle. I tell you, it is going to be more difficult than any of the previous lessons. At least it certainly is for me. And so I'm going to be going through that solve and walking through it. But again, please feel free to try it yourself first. All right, so this is the actual puzzle that I'm going to be solving today. This is by Philip Newman. He has provided the entire puzzle pack again, so thank you, Philip. All right, so I'm going to get started. So as with any puzzle, I'm going to start by looking for naked and hidden singles, mostly the hidden singles. And while we look for the hidden singles, we're going to mark in boxes where we've reduced a candidate to 2, sometimes 3 cells, depending on how I feel about wanting to remember that. Always the 2 cells, though. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through these bands. This is called a band. It's 3 boxes in a row. And I'm going to look for repeated digits and other patterns like that. That might reduce where things can be. And then I'm going to look through stacks and do the same thing. And then, of course, we'll be flexible if we find anything interesting. So here I pointed out there's these 2 1s here. So that looks up here and limits 1s to these 3, which I am going to mark in this case. And then we're going to move down to, it's mostly because this band doesn't have a whole lot of information, so I kind of want to remember that. This band here, we have repeated 3s and this 3 here. So those look in and actually limit 3 to just this cell, so that's a hidden single. These 2 5s look in with this 5 here. That's a hidden single 5. This 8 eliminates these 3 cells, limiting 8 to just these 2. So even though there wasn't a repeated 8, I saw that there were only 5 cells left in this box, and 3 of them could be eliminated by 1 in the center. And I saw that the 8 wasn't already present in the givens there. And I don't think there's anything else to see with that yet. So now we have these 2 2s, and this 2 looks down, so 2 is limited to these 2. All right, so we also have this 3 that eliminates from here and here, and that limits to 3, but I don't really want to mark that because that could get confusing because it's not like 3 in a row. It's not a pattern that's useful at this point. Oh, actually, we do have these 2 3s that look down. So with that, I think that is worth, yeah, that's definitely worth marking those 2 3s. Sorry for missing that. So now we can do stacks. And I just did the 3 on the stack. Is there anything else in this stack? What I'm seeing is So this is like what I was talking about here, where we have 3 open cells. And these 3 open cells, so anything in this column that's not already given here is going to be forced into just 2 cells automatically in this box. And you can see both the 1 and the 4 are shoved into these 2 cells. So they can only be 1 and 4. And so with that, we're actually able to fill a triple here for the box, which is going to be 6, 8, and 9. And you can actually see the 8 and 9 see this, forcing it to be just 6. This 9 sees over, putting 8, and then this is 9, as it's the only option left. Placing this 8, we look over, see that it eliminates this corner marked 8, places an 8 here. Corner mark was definitely useful. We can also look at the 9s and see that they're done. And the 8s, we can see they're done for the row, for the band, not for the whole puzzle, obviously. And so what we can do is we can look to see if there's anything else interesting about this row now that we've filled all these. And I'm seeing that there's only 3 candidates left for this row, and we have the 1 and 4 looking down here. So that should be left 2 candidates left in each of these cells at maximum. So we need a 1, 4, and 7. And so we know that 7 is going to be limited to these 2 in the row, which eliminates it from the rest of the box. This 7's already was here, but that does mean that 7s must be here. Oops, because they can't be here. And then this one can be 4 or 7, this can be 1 or 7. Always good to find the cells with 2 candidates left. And the other thing I'm seeing is that this same open pattern here, where we get cells that are shoved into these 2 here. You can see we have the 2 and the 4 that are both shoved into these 2 cells. So even though we said this one could be 7, it actually can't be, because if we made this 7, then the 2 and the 4 would both have to be in this one cell. So I can mark this as a 2 or a 4, but this already sees a 2, so it's the 4, making this the 2. This is now the 7. If we, with our corner marks, we can see for the row, this had to be the 7, and then that sees over, making this 1, this 4. Now we can finish a lot of this, I think. So just looking at what's left. So this, we need a 1. Looks like we can't resolve that. What's the other digit we need? A 6, and we do have a 6 here. So this is the 1, and this is the 6. There's 1 left for this row. It's actually a 1. And this is going to be a triple. So we need a 2, a 4, and a 7, looks like. And this can't be a 2. And I can remove these 7 corner marks now. Right, so we actually have this whole band pretty much done, except for this one triple here. So that's very nice. We were looking at stacks, though, so let's relook at this stack to see if we got anything. We got these 2 4s, and this 4 looks over here. So 4 is limited to these 2. We have the 2 6s as well. So if we can limit one more value to just these 3 cells, that'll make it a triple, a hidden triple, which would be very nice to find. I'm not quite seeing that at this point, though. We have any other repeated digit? We got the 4 and the 6. How about the 1 or the 3? Yes, the 2 1s look down, and we already got the 3. All right, so now let's move on to this stack here. So we have 2 9s, so these 9s look down here. We also have these 2 3s and this 3 here. So 3 is limited to these 2. So 5s, those look down. 5 is limited to these 3. I am going to mark that because they are in a line, so I think that's fine. And then these 2 9s look down. Oh, we have the 9s already. So what about the 2 and the 3? The 2, we don't know where the 2 is here, so that's not helpful. And we did the 3 already. All right, so let's move on to this last stack here. This 1 matches up with this one here, giving us a 1 in one of these 3. These 2 4s line up, putting a 4 here. And let's see, we have 2 and 8. So 2s are going to look up into here. And 8s also look up into there. So that actually makes this a 2 8 pair. That's a hidden 2 8. Because we again, these 2 8s kind of look up, forcing both 2 and 8 into these remaining 2 cells for the column. So that will actually give us a triple here for the column. And so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 in the column. We need 5, 6, 7. We have 8 and 9. This one can't be a 6. And I'm seeing that the 5 actually is eliminated from this cell, and we didn't already have a 5 in the column. So what do we actually need for this column? We might as well fill all 3 at once. So we have 1, 2. We need a 3. We know we need a 5. And we need a 9. And this cell here can't be 5. So it's limited to 3 and 9. This cell can't be a 9 or a 5. So actually we get the 3, which gives us the 9 and the 5. So that's quite nice. So we finish this column. And so now we know this is going to be a triple as well. I mean 1, 4 for the box as well as a 3. So 1, 3, and 4. Actually, we would have eventually, when we filled this 3 here, we also would have seen the 3, oops, the 3 get shunted down into here with these. And this can't be a 3, this can't be a 4. So let's make sure we mark that. All right, so we went through all the bands and stacks looking for hiddens. We do want to double check anything that we just placed. So yeah, we placed this 3. That eliminates this 3. And so we can fill this 3 up here. I'm sorry if you were yelling at me about that. I did get to it. We also placed the 5. So these 5s match up along with this 5. So that places a 5 here. Do we have anything else of interest? We placed the 5, 3. We placed this 9. Nothing's... Oh, yeah, this 9 actually sees here. That places this 9. So now these two 9s look over here. We have this 9 here. So a 9 is limited to these two. We got this triple. Oh, yeah, this should be a triple. So let's fill that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need 6, 7. We have 8. We need 9. This one can't be 9. Looking for anything else. Nothing else is seen there. Okay, so what else did we place? This 9 we got. Okay. So I think we've unwound everything we placed. Let's double check. We placed this 5 actually. These two 5s are going to look down. That's going to limit 5 to these two. And in fact, we have 3 left for the column. So let's mark that. We know 5s are down here. 2s are going to be in these two. And what else do we need? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We need a 7. It looks like 7 can be anywhere. So we'll just fill a 7 in all 3. So, okay. Now the next thing I'm going to look for are... Basically what we want to do is we want to look for by-value cells, which is just a fancy way of saying cells with 2 candidates. And so like these are already by-values. We have quite a lot. I'm not seeing anything quite useful with them yet, but we have a lot of blank cells in the grid. So how do we hunt by-value cells? While we hunt them, we're also going to end up finding naked singles maybe that we didn't spot already. Because we've really only been looking for hidden singles at this point. We've sort of marked stuff as we find it while we look for that. But we haven't really been looking at individual cells and what they can see. So what we're going to look for are intersections between rows, columns, and boxes where there's a lot of unique digits that show up there. So the one that really immediately comes to mind, or like this pretty much looks like a corner if you kind of see it. So in this column, we've got 1, 5, 7, and then we've got 2, 3, 8. And I'm already noticing that those are all distinct digits. So we know that this is at least a tri-value cell. But we've also got 4, 6 in the box. And notice none of those are there. So we actually know this is a naked single. And with our corner mark, that hints us that it's a 9. Let's just double check. We see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So this is a naked single 9. We can place that. We can remove this 9 corner mark here. We immediately look in the band. We already have all our 9s. In the stack, we don't have all 9s already. That actually allows us to place this. This is now a hidden 9. That 9 looks over to here, places this 9. And that actually finishes all the 9s, so we don't have to worry about 9s anymore. And we're going to just keep hunting for some by-value cells. I don't think that had any effect beyond what we just did, because we just finished the 9s. So, unless there's something that could have been here, but now can't, but I don't think I see anything like that. So we do have a bunch of corner mark digits here already. In fact, what don't we have corner mark? That's another hint to what might be limited. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're missing kind of 7 and 8 as corner marks in this box. So we can always just double check where they would end up going. It looks like 7s are in any of these 4 here. And then 8 can actually just, okay, can't be in these 2, but can be in any of these 4. So it was good to double check that. There's 3 left in this column, so let's just fill that. And that can often find by-value cells for you because there's only 3 candidates for the whole column. So we know these 2 are the ones. We have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we need 7 and 8. It's unsurprising, but this one can't be 8. So we did find a 1, 7 by-value cell. This can be 1, 7, 8, and then this can be 7 or 8. So that's another by-value. That's very nice. I'm looking for rows and columns with a bunch of givens, and I'm also looking for intersections. So for example, this also kind of looks like a corner to me. So let's see what's available. So we see a 1. It looks like we can be 2. I'm not seeing any 2s looking good. So that can be 2. So we know it's also going to be a 4 or 6. So we see a 3. We can be 4 or 6. We see a 5 in the box. We see a 7. Do we see an 8? Doesn't look like there's an 8. So the issue here is, even though it looked like a corner, there's between the box and the row and the column, there's a lot of repeated digits. And so we ended up not being as effective as this corner, but it was still worth looking. So that's still just 2, 4, 6, 8. All the evens, interestingly. How about this cell here? This kind of looks like another little intersection. Not too great, though. These are all unique, though, so we should be down to 3 candidates, I believe. So it's going to be a 2, 4, 7, and 8. I was right. Oh, wait. Did I? Oh, yeah, the 9s were repeated, and I didn't see that. Okay, so it is 4 candidates left. How about up here? So we have all of these. So there are some unique. There are some repeats there, like the 5s repeat, the 3s repeat. But let's just look. So we can't be 1. We can be 2. Can't be 3, 4, 5. Can be 6 or 7, it looks like. Okay, 2, 6, and 7. How about this one up here? This one can be 1. Oh, actually, when did we place this one here? I just noticed that one looks up here and sees that. Sorry if you've been yelling about that one. So we actually placed a 1 here, so we don't have to worry about what's there. This is down to 4 in the column, so let's just see what we get out of that. We need a 2, 4, 6, and 7. This can't be 4 or 6 or 2, so we actually found a naked single. So this is 7. So none of these can be 7. We now have a few more bi-value cells, which is nice. This can be 2, 4, or 6, though. This column in general, it's got a lot. So 1, 5, 7, 9. This one's going to see a 4. This one's going to see a 3. In the box in general, we have a 3. So we're going to get 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9. I think that's enough to see what's in here. So we can be a 2. We have 3, 4, 5. We can be 6 or 8, it looks like. I'm not seeing any of those seeing that cell. Apologize if I do miss a candidate. This row's already got a bunch of bi-values. I wonder what's remaining in it. They don't form any kind of triple, though, so we got to be careful. But the columns have quite a bit. Anyway, let's just look. So we can be 2. Can't be 3. We can be 4, 6. Can't be 7. Looks like we can be 8, though. 8 is actually very not limited in most places, so we're not going to get a whole lot out of 8s at the moment. Okay. How about this cell? So it sees a 1, 1, 2, 3. Does it see a 4? No, it can be 4. It sees 5. We need a 6, 7, 8. And it sees a 9. So yeah, I don't see any 7s or 8s there. Okay. Let's just take a step back. We've almost fully filled this grid. In fact, 4, 6, 7, 8 is going to be anything possible in this whole column. So I'm looking for a row. So this sees a 4. So this is going to be 6, 7, or 8. This doesn't see... Oh, this sees a 7. So this is 4, 6, or 8. Okay, so let's take a step back, see what we can see. All right, so something I'm seeing here is if you look at this row where 7 can go, 7 can't go in this cell here because of this 7. And so that means 7 is already getting limited in this box here, and it also can't be here. So 7's limited to these 2. So we can do a box line reduction here where it's limited in the row, and so we can remove 7s from the rest of the box. So that should be helpful. Okay, what else can we see? I'm looking for anything else like that, perhaps. We don't really have to worry about this stack. So we can limit our scanning a little bit. Okay, so this might be the time. Let's see. How about down here? There's actually not that much left in this row. There's four candidates left in this row. So we know this cell can't be 1, which is interesting. So we need 1, 3, 5, and 8. This can't be a 1 because we have these corner marked here. I guess that's from the column. The column we also can remove a 5. So that's a bi-value cell. We can remove a 3 from here. So actually 3 is limited to these two. Not seeing anything useful there. 1, 5, or 8. Not seeing anything. So we ended up with one more bi-value cell. This bottom row is fairly useless. Okay, what about this cell here where we marked the 7? Yeah, this row here is just 2, 6, 7, 8. And this can't be 6, so this is 2, 7, or 8, it looks like. Seeing that 4 is limited to these two, could mark that. How about this cell here? So I'm seeing in the column we have 3, 6, 9. We just get an extra 2, 8 from there. So, and a 7. So we should have 3 candidates. It's going to be a 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Oh, we have a 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 3 candidates. 1, 4, and 5. I was right. So I'm seeing 1, 4, 5, 7. Yes, another way to put that is where does 6 go in this row? Let's just double check that. This 6 sees these 3. This 6 sees down here. And this cell here couldn't be a 6 because of the triple. So actually we have a hidden 6 here. So that's a 6. Leaves a 5, 7 pair. Oh, this 7 sees over. So this is 5 and 7. All right, what's that get us? That can't be 7. This 6, no, that was hidden. So that doesn't get us anything. How about this 5? Yeah, this can't be 5. So we have a 1, 3, 8 triple that can't be resolved, but they're all bi-value cells, so that might be useful. The 7 sees over here, that can't be 7. I'm looking at this column because now we have this situation again, if you remember from the beginning, where anything in this column will shunt a value down to these two. So 6 is actually limited to these two because we have 6 in the column. The 3 and the 9 are already in the box, so those aren't helpful. But that does mean the rest of the row can't be 6. We kind of knew that already. Could have seen that in other ways. We only have a couple cells left that we haven't filled candidates, so I'm actually going to just fully fill. So we can't be 1, we can be 2, 3, can't be 4, 5, 6, 7, can be 8. That's three values. And then this cell here, we can be a 1, 4, 5. This is really not going to be that limited. 6 and 8. No, we can't be 6. So that's everything. Now what we're going to look for, so what I think something useful to do is just look at every single bi-value cell and just highlight it so that we're only looking at those. So I'm just going to highlight them green. And we're just going to give this a little stare here and see if we can spot any Y-wings. So basically what I'm doing is I'm looking for cells that have 3 candidates between 3 cells and that sort of form these L shapes or maybe share a box. Ah, I missed these 2 bi-value cells actually. I'm also double checking all my scanning just to make sure I didn't just miss that one of these is a single or something like that. We know that 7's limited to these 2. I can mark that. We have the 1, 4, 5, 7. Is there anything? So, okay, 7's limited to these 2. Okay, so now I have a Y-wing, and it is here. So I'm going to mark that the way we marked it in our examples. So you can see here that we have this pivot of 2, 7 here. If this is a 2, then this pincer becomes an 8. If this is a 7, then this pincer becomes an 8. So we just have to look at what cells are seen by both of these. because we use the box, we want to look in both directions. So the most obvious one is these two see this cell here, and that is going to make this a 2 and an 8. But they also saw, just before I fill that, these two also see this cell here. And so this also couldn't be an 8. And so if this hadn't immediately filled an 8 here, that would have been important. But yeah, so this can't be an 8, so it's a 2. That fills 8 here. I can now eliminate that 8 from here. It doesn't resolve the rest of these cells. So let's mark those green again. We have a new bi-value cell here, and let's see how this propagates. Sometimes we can eliminate those two as green. Sometimes finding the one Y-wing just collapses the whole thing and it finishes. Sometimes it does not, and we have to keep looking. So let's see what other effects. I'm a little worried that we're going to have to find a bit more, but the reason I'm worried is because this wasn't in a location that's going to really cascade down as well. So it's only going to give us kind of a few things in this band. This also can't be 2 anymore. This 8. Okay, so it gave us this 4, 8. And I think this 2, 6 as well, possibly. And yeah, okay, so just double checking. Yeah, if this is our pivot, we have these two pincers. And so if this is 2, if this is 2, this one's 4. If this is 6, this one's 4. These two, this is not, this shares the box as well. And so whatever these two see, which could have been these two as well, but importantly is this one cannot be 4 anymore. So this is a 7. That is hopefully very helpful because we get this 7 as well. Let's mark these as green again because we did finish that Y-wing. Let's see what else we can get from here. This 2, 4 pair. Let's mark that green. So now where does 2 go in this column? By filling this 7, actually we lost the only other place for a 2. So this is a 2, this is a 4, and this should hopefully propagate somewhere. Okay, this can't be 4, so that's another bi-value cell. We can uncolor these ones. So we got the 2 and the 4. Does that give us anything? This 2, 6 pair. And now in this box, where does 2 go? 2 has to go here. That's a hidden 2. We can uncolor that, and that eliminates 2 from here, leaving a 6, 8 pair. This 2 gives us a 6 down here. Whoops, 6. That eliminates 6 from here, leaving 4 and 8. So we have a few more bi-value cells. Keep those green for now. This is no longer green. So we got the 6, we got the 2. So looks like that well has run dry. Oh, we have a bi-value cell here. Mark that green. In fact, now that I've marked that green, I see this 6, 7, 8, and yeah, okay, so that eliminates a 6 from here. I have to be careful though, because there's 3 6 corner marks, but we have the 6, 7, 8 here. I'm just gonna do what I've done. Mark that. So this is our pivot. One of these two has to be a 6, because that's the value that's not in our pivot. And so that eliminates 6 from where they both see. So that's here. I don't think they both, so they both see these 3 and these 3. So that's all we get. Is that enough? That does create a 4, 8 pair here. So we get the 7, which creates the 6 here. So that's what ended up being the 6. This is still by value. So we got the 6, the 7. The 7 looks down. So we get 1, 8. I think we might finally be cascading. Yes, okay. So I might be speaking too soon, but we might have just, oops, can't fill a 5 there. That's the danger of having, okay, but I do have 1, 5 corner marks here. Oh yeah, so here's the 4. This can't be 4. So that's a 1, 5 pair. This 8 C's up, gives us the 4, 8, 6, 8. What's nice about having all these highlighted is you can kind of chain react them pretty quickly. That's 6, 7, 2. That's a 4. This is a 2 as well. 5, 7, 1, 5, 3. And there you go. That is how you solve that Sudoku. And it had 3 Y-Wings, I think, if I remember the count. Was it 4? I think it was 3. So not all of them will have that many Y-Wings. I think a lot of them will just have 1. Some may have 2. Some may all have additional things like X-Wings. So do watch out for that. You're going to have to use every technique that you've learned so far in some of these puzzles. So I hope this was illuminating in how you can use the Y-Wing to solve these difficult puzzles. I'm providing a lot of them, so you'll get a lot of practice. So hopefully you'll get better at spotting them than I have been here. And I hope you are enjoying the series. If you are enjoying the series, please consider subscribing if you haven't. Hit the like button. Tell your friends about the series, and maybe they'll get into Sudoku. They'll learn to love it as well. And until next time, thanks for watching.